Hey everyone, welcome to Crypto Live with Bitcoin Bravado. I'm the Bitcoin Broski here with Kyle, BTC Jack Sparrow, and Bitcoin Birch. What's up, fellas?
Let's
Happy
get
Monday.
it. Happy Monday. You know I love Mondays.
How was the weekend, folks?
It's been great.
How about that fight? What do you guys think? Was that extremely boring or extremely exciting or a combination of the two?
Thrilling. But he had it coming, didn't he?
Yeah, he definitely had it coming.
He deserved it. Yeah, if I was a McGregor fan, I'd be a little disappointed, but I guess that's just the way it goes. So,
I mean, I think anytime a post-fight interview is the highlight, that's trouble.
I mean, is Khabib gonna keep his title or what? I mean, the dude jumped into the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best fighter at that weight in the world. So I hope
I think he'll get fined, but I don't think anything else is happening. But that's what the hell do I know?
I think his boys are done for. That's for sure. His boys that are fighters,
that dude jumped into the ring and cold cocked Conor McGregor. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was some next level stuff right there. This is true hatred.
That was insane.
That's what you pay for.
So, Kyle, what did you do over the weekend?
The Bravado team, we went to Concrete Cowboy here in Chicago and had ourselves a day. A lot of drinking, a lot of college football, so I can't complain. It was a good weekend. It's Captain Cornigy's birthday, so we had a good time.
Yeah, shout out Cap.
Sounds great. My story kind of sounds a bit boring then, because I actually spent making little hikes with my family on the beach. It was great. I did some cleaning with my dad. We've actually found a shitload of trash and made a shitload of selfies together. But that's also fun, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time. I stayed in this weekend. I watched the fight by myself in my bed, and I stayed inside all day Saturday, so I didn't do shit. It's good.
We just chased the kids around all weekend. Got to have a good weekend with the fam. So it's always good to do that.
We got to get you some Bravado swag. I mean, we're all swag.
It's true.
Throwback. This is Throwback Monday. This is the original shirt from last year. We'll get you one.
I need my apparel.
Yeah,
you need my apparel, fellas. Well, jumping into it, it's been an awesome weekend. I think that aside from all of the goings on that we've had, the market's been lit. If I can say that in my old age. But I first want to jump into some news we've got going on. Dubai has made a big announcement. They are integrating some awesome crypto payment options for their citizens. So I'm going to kick it over to our boy Jeroni for a fill-in on what's up in Dubai.
It's probably one of the most exciting things I've heard in a while from an adoption perspective. What Dubai is starting is an official credit bureau inside the United Arab Emirates. It's called M-Credit. And with M-Credit, residents will be able to pay for school fees, bills, and other retail purchases with a digital currency that their government has developed. It's called M-Cash. But the most what I find
M-Cash. E-M-Cash.
E-M-Cash, yeah, exactly. But what I find really thrilling about it is the fact that their payment processor is going to be Pundi. And we've been bullish on Pundi for a long time. We've called it within Bravado a couple of times. And they're going to install their point of sale devices, XPOS, they're called, to be used to pay with digital currency. So they're not going to use NPXS as a currency, but they will use the infrastructure of Pundi, which shows how legit and how well developed their infrastructure should be and is. So I'm really, really, really excited to see if this is going to see a lot of adoption and people are actually going to use it a lot and what kind of advantages it will give them. And if this is going to become something more, if it's going to become bigger than just Dubai, if it's going to come to other countries in the world, I think we got some serious adoption there.
Now, one thing I'm wondering about myself is, as you mentioned, they're not going to be using the NPXS Pundi underlying token, but they're going to be using the Pundi POS devices, which are going to be deployed across countless retail storefronts. It's going to allow residents of Dubai and visitors of Dubai, of course, to actually use this Mcash cryptocurrency payment. How bullish is that for Pundi as an underlying asset, right? Like for the company, just like I'm bullish on the company Ripple, I don't really care for XRP. So is this something that's going to be good for NPXS? I mean, is that something that you guys think we're going to see translate over?
Well, at least in the short term, Pundi's not really doing much. I guess it's only up 1.25%.
It's the stable coin of all season.
Yeah, I guess, right? We've been waiting for it, but I would think long term this is bullish for, at least from a marketing standpoint, for the blockchain and for the protocol. I guess we'll just have to see, even though it's not being the coin using, it's just the back end blockchain. Well, if it's good in that country, I feel like people are going to become familiar with Pundi X, and so that I think should be good for the price. But I guess we'll have to just wait and see.
From a company standpoint, one thing that's of note here is that it says that the Crown Prince of Dubai has approved citywide blockchain payments platform connecting 38 government entities. So if that's the case, it's not just going to be, if Pundi is able to get that contract as well, that'll actually be, gateways that will be online serving entity to entity payments within the government, which could be a great use case just for blockchain as a whole. So that's a big move. So this is because obviously, as we know now, retail people are moving away from retail. Most transactions are occurring online. So if Pundi is able to segue their NPSX or their Pundi POS systems and move that to an online gateway, that could be huge.
I guess go ahead, sorry.
No big deal. From an international perspective too, I think looking at this space, you look at Dubai, and Dubai is probably a cutting edge technological leader of the world, and for them to be integrating a blockchain payment system into something where they're going to be using it for school payments, fees, bills, and other retail purchases, I think that really shows how early this space still is, but you can see that the countries that have the capability and the infrastructure to set something like this up, they're doing so. So it's really bullish, I think, long term for blockchain and everything. So
yeah, and Dubai is probably just the first. I mean, it's a major city in the United Emirates, right? So I would expect to see this spill out throughout the rest of that Persian Gulf area to some of the other. I think there's 10 million or something people in that. In the city. So it's a great first step. It's extraordinarily bullish. As we talked about last week, we're seeing more and more of these government establishments start to recognize digital assets, especially in countries where their existing infrastructure isn't as good. So bullish. I'm happy about it. Let's go.
For sure.
What else we got?
Absolutely. So Bitfinex obtains banking partner in HSBC, 7th largest bank in the world. The headline then reads, "Will it last?" ? So what are we thinking of this partnership?
So did they ditch their existing banking partner, or they're just adding HSBC?
It's pretty unclear. From what I understand, that even this partnership is something that people have said is there's some clarification that's missing towards this entire partnership. So there's people saying this, and there's a lot of people that actually can make their claims come true. I don't know.
So
regarding
did you guys read Bitfinex's Medium article addressing online rumors about their insolvency? Did you guys check that out?
Yeah, I read it.
What do you think? So they shared a couple of their wallets. They shared one of their Ether wallets, their Bitcoin wallet, and their EOS wallet. And they're basically saying that the idea that we're insolvent is laughable. It's a joke. You guys are crazy. And then this other news comes out. I mean, here's the reality. Bitfinex makes so much damn money and they're such a powerhouse within the crypto space. They're also one of the oldest exchanges in the space. The powers that be, I don't think are going to let Bitfinex fail in the current state of things. So whatever FUD is going around about BitMEX currently with their server issues and everything else, with Bitfinex, even with Binance, with any of these major exchanges, there's way too much money to be made by the people backing these companies. They are not going to let them fail. And I wouldn't be too caught up in some of the FUD. You do want to protect yourself. You do want to make sure you don't keep a bunch of your money on exchanges. That's regardless of FUD. But guys, we're not going to see Bitfinex go away. Like don't be crazy. Don't be stupid.
It's the same with the Tether FUD. I mean, we can't prove anything, and we can't say whether what stories are right or wrong. But the fact that all major cryptocurrency exchanges are still using USDT and are still exposed to it, this is a massive risk if there is any truth to the FUD that's going around. I cannot say the FUD is fake because I cannot claim this, but it just sounds stupid that there is, I don't know how much, $2.8 billion dollars circulating that they have exposure to that can collapse anytime. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well, go ahead. No, go ahead, Rich.
I was just going to say, going back to Bitfinex too, regarding insolvency, Bitfinex, for all intents and purposes, owns Tether or whatever that relationship is. And again, they shared their cold wallet. These are just some offline wallets. They have almost $1 billion in Bitcoin at today's price. And we all know Bitcoin's about to moon. They also have $400 million in Ethereum and $200 million in EOS. You take that for what it is. I mean, they're not insolvent. I wouldn't worry. Do they have some legal struggles? Sure, potentially. We don't really know. Are there regulators breathing down their neck? Probably. But those regulators at the end of the day are all, lobbyists, and they all have a price, and we've seen it before. You can pay a couple of fines and get a couple slaps on the wrist, change a couple things, kick some U.S. investors off your exchange, and be right back to it. So I wouldn't get too caught up in it, like I said.
Well, and looking at it from an outsider's perspective, right? If I'm looking at it and I'm new to crypto, I see that Bitfinex was previously banking with something called Noble Bank, which most people have no idea what Noble Bank is or where they are. And now you've got HSBC. I mean, that is bullish news depending on how you're looking at it. So from an outside perspective, this could draw some people in.
It's not a bad thing. I like it. Cool.
For sure. So some good news. And for those of you tuning in, this again is Crypto Live with Bitcoin Bravado. We're here just having a great conversation about some of the news that's happened over the weekend. The last story that we want to talk about today is actually a bright spot on the horizon. Binance sent a tweet out this morning announcing that they are going to be being more transparent with their listing fees, and any fees that they're taking in from listing new projects, they are going to be donating 100% of them to charity. How do you feel about that, guys?
That's a hell of a tax write-off, boys. They made so much money that, it's a great PR play. Shout out to CZ. They're calling for transparency. I love that. I think we need to see more of it. And if there's anything Binance has always been, it's transparent. CZ has always been someone, if their site's gone down or if something's happened, he's been on Twitter within 10 minutes, and that's always been the case. And so you have to appreciate that from Binance. CZ is the man. And by all accounts, from anyone that I've spoken to, who's met him or who's networked with him, he's a stand-up dude. But it is a PR play. Let's not get it twisted for a second. Binance is a business. Binance makes an absolute ass ton of cash every single day. I like what they're trying to do. Listing fees, you're donating that to charity. I think that's exciting. They're still going to make so much money off of the volume and the trading fees and everything else. So don't get too caught up in the Robinhood approach, but I do think it's a really good step, and it's something that I like to see. I'd like to see where what the charities are, hopefully, and I'm sure there will be transparency around that. So more to come.
I really wonder what kind of lobby he's trying to win and where. Would be
what charity
to actually know, what charity, but also
the Maltese charity.
Who is he trying to convince? What laws does he need changed, and what charity will he donate money to get
the charity of the Maltese government, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Joel, it's like you're saying, CZ has been a stand-up guy this whole time. So obviously this is good publicity, and from that end, I agree. But I think that generally, like, the space has been so profitable, and what CZ is doing here is giving back to people who need it. So I think it's just a good move, and it's just good for crypto. The leaders in the space are actually benefiting people other than their own pockets. So I appreciate it.
Definitely a solid move for sure. Well, guys, moving away from the news, let's talk about King Bitcoin. What's BTC doing today? How are we looking? Still stuck in a triangle?
You know,
still stuck in a triangle. It is
just barely. BTC Jack Sparrow, if you don't mind, loading up for the young people out there. We started to see some movement, and excitingly enough, it does look like BTC is trying to make a run at breaking out of that meme triangle. Let's take a look at it.
It's interesting because I've drawn these downtrends, which I mean don't necessarily represent the place of a breakout. We're not seeing a breakout yet, but we're slowly grinding towards these downtrends, these blue lines, and on a smaller time frame. Let's see, like the 1 hour, we touched one, and we touched one here. We broke through it. We got rejected really heavily here. I honestly think that once we can break this last blue line, there is the resistance of 6,800, and beyond that we have some diagonal resistances that will prevent us to actually go to $7,500. If we get rejected, there's always the possibility that we still go down. So I'm still neutral, but the market has been showing a bit of a volume increase over the last take it like 6 hours. If we can continue to see more volume on every push upwards, there might actually be a really bullish case.
Now, with all this bullshit with BitMEX going on, they still do make up 25% of the volume. But at BitMEX's peak, it was, I mean, what was it, Kyle? $6 billion?
Something along those lines.
Yeah. $6 billion in daily volume. Just on BitMEX alone, somewhere in that range. Now they're just barely hovering over 1.2 billion. Still makes up the majority of the volume on Bitcoin. However, what some people pointed out on Twitter over the course of the weekend was that there was a point in time where open interest was actually higher than volume, which just means a lot of money was sitting on the sidelines, and not a lot of people were trading. And what does that mean for Bitcoin right now? You know, it looks to me like a lot of the bears are not too comfortable in shorting this thing down to 3K like they've all been saying. The bottom may very well be in at that 5,800 price range. Time will kind of tell here. I'm a little bit concerned because I just, over the course of this uptrend, as you guys see from the middle of August, there's just not a lot of excitement from a volume perspective. So that is something to keep in mind. This could very well just be something that is one last kind of push up before we see the floor fall out from underneath us.
You know, I have to say I agree with your hesitancy. I mean, we've all made some good money in the past couple weeks, but for me, this is just looking just like back in early September when we were up in the upper 7,400, and then we came crashing back down. I mean, there's just even less volume today than there was then. So I'm still hesitant, but if we break out here, if we can close above 6,800 on the daily, then I'll be fairly bullish, and I'll be looking to enter into a lot of different cryptos. So right now, everything for me is still short term,
Kyle, the Bravado Permabull, the intern who's been famously Permabear, rather, the intern who's been a famous Permabear since, you know, as far back as I can remember, keeping us all honest, looking like he's starting to feel a little bit better, and I love to see it. But I think we share the same sentiment, my dude. We are both nervous about volume, and we're nervous also, as we should be, because look at what this market's done over the course of 2018. This is not the time, you know, that I'm looking to, to finally start putting in some of that money and get destroyed. So $6,800 is the meme line that you're going to see on Twitter, I guarantee, every day this week. You're going to see everybody that you respect talking about that price in before 6,800 becomes the meme of the week. And when that number breaks, I'm excited to see if when it retests, when 6,800, because when it breaks, guys, it's going to hit maybe, let's say 7,100, just throwing a number out there without doing much TA. It's going to come back down and retest 68, 68.50. And when it does, if we find support there, it's time to enter all crypto markets.
I don't disagree with that.
Well, And, we've had this conversation over the last week talking about BTC, and we've also offline talked a little bit about kind of the meme that alt season is still pending, right? But there's money to be made in these alts, and I think
we've been making it.
It's important to talk about some of the previous coins that we've discussed here on the show. One of those that's popping off right now is CMT. So where are we at? We talked about it on Friday. So what's the upside from there?
Yeah. So taking a look here at Geronimo's screen, we have a nice. Actually, if we do this, what I'll do is I'll share my screen because I actually have the trade setup that we shared in the Bravado Discord. But yeah, CMT. So Cyber Mills, for those who tuned in on Friday, maybe I won't share my screen. Maybe I will. Let's see. For those who tuned in on Friday, I will not share my screen. I apologize. It was working before. We talked about it because they have a mainnet launch coming up on October 14th. And that was somewhat exciting, but we also saw some volume starting to kick in. And so Cyber Mills is one of those coins that just looked like it was ready for a breakout. It started to break out and find resistance and then retrace. So we BTFD, right? We bought the dip on CMT, and we're up a little over 20% since that entry on Friday. And you know what, guys, as long as the entirety of the market continues to see some excitement over the course of these next few days, CMT is going to continue to lead the way. And with mainnet launch coming up, I think we're going to continue to see some excitement for Cyber Mills. So great trade, y'all. I mean, if you guys tuned in on Friday and took that trade, it's one of the top gainers on the day. So great trade. Dronny, what are your thoughts on the TA side?
All right, my sound's still working. I think there's plenty of upside here. We're right in this order block that was a little bit of consolidation on our way down. It only lasted for like 1 or 2 days, so it should not be a major resistance. And we actually already broke into it. We're looking to actually start to hit the upside of this little box here. Once we might consolidate here a little bit. We might retrace to some lower levels, test the breakout levels around maybe here, or maybe
what's the SAT prices on those for those listening on the podcast?
So I would say a retrace to 1.85k sats or 1.8k sats sounds reasonable. We could also keep consolidating in this box, and the bottom of this box is 2,000 satoshis. Once we break out of this box, there's going to be a bigger resistance on which we actually bounced a couple of times on our way down, which means there was a lot more buyer interest here, and then once it flipped, there was a lot more supply coming down. So this little box right here is going to be a tough resistance to beat. If we beat it, I really don't see much resistance all the way up here, actually. If the market remains bullish and BTC remains bullish, I think there's a good chance we're just going to hit all the way up here. I think there is a bit of a resistance here.
What's that price? Can you shout the prices out for people on the podcast?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is 2.4k satoshis. This box here, and then I think there might actually be some resistance in this consolidation right here, which is probably going to sit around 2.7 to 2.8k satoshis, and then I think the next target would sit above 3k satoshis. Let's not jump to conclusions too fast, too early, but they have I think there is a lot more bullish momentum left on this. So if you want to hop in, make sure you don't buy the green big dildo right here. It looks great.
Whoa, we lost him.
Oh
no. Oh, right when we were getting to the big green dildo. That's my favorite part of any chart. I think what he's trying to stress, not the time to FOMO. Sorry about that, BTC Jack. We lost you there. Looks like you are back. Definitely try to stay patient if you're not in an entry, but where do you buy the breakout here? Because normally I'd be pretty aggressively taking profits on this trade. I scraped a little bit off at that resistance, but honestly, right now, I'm just not interested in taking profit on some of these altcoin entries. I'm interested in seeing what this puppy can do, because if we do start to really heat up in the market cycle right now, I'm looking for some bigger gainers, right? Especially considering what we've seen across the board with some of these larger movements. So, if we start to form some type of a flag or a pennant here, then maybe, like we talked about on Friday, as it formed that previous pennant, then maybe we start to look at a fresh entry there.
Yeah,
Cyber Miles.
We might just march through this resistance actually all the way into the second block at like 2.2 to 2. Around 2.2k sats. We'll see.
6 days, 11 hours, 4 minutes, and 23 seconds until their mainnet launches. I love countdowns on websites. That's my favorite thing for altcoins. So I know there's a couple of other gems that we want to get into. First and foremost, Wax. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Wax, Wax is the Worldwide Asset Exchange. That's what WAX stands for. It's focused on online gamers and allowing them to buy skins, buy weapons, trade things through this exchange, leveraging their Wax token. And it's a big market. You're talking about 400 plus million online gamers. And we've heard this before, but most people's first foray into crypto is from one of three things: gaming, gambling, or drugs. So
right.
This is a big one. I think this is a huge play.
So there's no doubt that the gaming industry is massive. There's no doubt, from some people might not understand how big the skins game is, but let's talk about that for a quick second. So Wax was founded by the same people who founded the company OpSkins. Now, OpSkins is the largest skin site. It's just, which that sounds very dirty. OpSkins is the largest site for purchasing some of these gaming skins, and it's a $50 billion market. Now, it is a private company, so we don't know how much money OpSkins brings in. But if they're the largest site in a $50 billion market, it's safe to say that they do quite well for themselves. I was actually fortunate enough to speak to the CEO of OpSkins a couple months back, because we actually covered Wax in our August monthly coin analysis within Bravado VIP. And the reason we covered it was for that. These guys are the industry leader in a marketplace where cryptocurrency has a real use case. If you think about actually buying and selling and spending this virtual currency, I think gaming and gambling are two of the best use cases that actually exist today. For those who don't really, play along in the skins game, Counter-Strike has some of the most popular skins, in the world. And in real life, one of these skins from Counter-Strike Global Offensive, this game that is pretty popular, sold for $100,000 in real life guap. It's a big market. There's a lot of people spending money on this stuff, and Wax just so happens to be what I have no doubt will be the leader in this space. If you look at the chart, as Geronimo, it looks like he's pulled that baby up. I was personally looking at one of my favorite indicators, Chaikin money flow, and we kind of bottomed on the Chaikin money flow for the first time since the 13th of August and started to turn around at the top of this meme rising wedge here. I'll let Geronimo talk about it in a little bit more detail. What do we see for a good entry on Wax?
A good entry for Wax. Actually, I think it could be a super solid entry right where we are. I love to buy when you have breakouts. So let's have a look here. There was this breakout right here. We nuked this resistance. It was we went through it, and now we tested it one time around, what's that, 995 Satoshis. And it started to continue ranging afterwards in this orange box. And we're at the bottom, exactly at the bottom, which also happens to be the bottom of this wick right here.
What's that price?
This is 991 Satoshis, 994 Satoshis. So it's, if this breaks down, I'm going to be a little bit. I'm going to be looking to enter right here on the break of this resistance. But this is not. I would love to see it bounce here. If it bounces here and we can see some strong action, I'll probably add on the retest of this resistance right here, or maybe the top of this orange box. That was kind of our range. So currently, I think 995 Satoshis, just under 1K sat, looks as like the most opportune point of entry to actually write this baby up. And then to the upside, if this can complete, we might actually see an inverse head and shoulders. Let me quickly
That's
try
bullish.
that. That's super bullish.
Super bullish, especially at the bottom here. I like some spot wax here today. I definitely agree with you there, Max. For those who want to know, you can actually buy wax token on Bittrex, Huobi, Upbit, and KuCoin, Banker Network. So, of course, IDEX if you're using Ether. So there's a couple different places. They are not currently listed on the MacDaddy exchange Binance, but rumor has it. No, there's no rumor. I'm just kidding. But they are, they are the type of token who I would expect to see get listed on Binance. Just putting that out there for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, and they've got an app contest going on right now to finalize their app for their Express Pay option or Express Trade option that they're doing. So this is big. I mean, this coin at the peak of the last bull run was at 18,000 sats. So.
That is some upside.
It's a big difference.
Yeah. So just for those wondering,
It's been a fun 2018.
Yeah, it's been a great 2018, especially for those who bought anything in January. If you are looking for the upside back to all-time high, I mean, shit, let's just go back to April. We're at 4x, right? So we 4x, we're back to April. I won't even bore you with what January brings us because it's stupid. But Wax is a token that I've been excited about. And if you want to learn more, then BYOR. But I'm excited to buy this back.
I heard the excitement laugh over there from Max. Well,
he's looking at it right now. He's looking at the same thing I'm looking at, guys. This thing has been a stable coin. Max has been a stable coin for all intents and purposes since the bottom of the entire altcoin market on August 13th. That's where everybody capitulated. I remember that day like it was yesterday because everyone was selling Dragon Chain at 12 cents. And Wax is just another good example of a coin that hasn't moved yet. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's just listed on exchanges that aren't that exciting right now, even though Bittrex and Upbit are some of the largest exchanges in the world. So BYOR on that one, boys.
Oh, man, that divergence, by the way, just to add one more thing, it looks really nice. And it's a divergence that has started to form since the beginning of June. So that's a time frame you should. It could take some time before it goes up, but usually these actually play out. So I'm bullish here.
I'm gonna just market buy something real quick. So with that
Phil,
being said,
Phil, before I haven't even bought my bag yet. So all the people listening to the podcast, and for those of you joining us right now, again, welcome to Crypto Live with Bitcoin Bravado. We're glad to have you here. For those listening on the podcast, by the time you hear this, I'll have probably bought my bag of wax, but at this point, I have yet to load up. So see if you can't hop in before me. Of course, that's not financial advice. I would never do such a thing.
So here we go. Moving on. There is a BitMEX alt we want to discuss. Bitcoin Cash. Bcash is on the docket.
Ooh.
How's the chart looking? What are we thinking? It's a double meaning. What are we thinking?
It's a bit of a pain in the ass because on BitMEX we have the December contract, so they will expire in December. And that's a lot of room for people to speculate on the future price. If there's people who actually bought right now and they're willing to let their contract expire and they think that the Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin price will be higher by the end of December, December 28th, they are willing to pay a so-called premium on it. So we are looking right now at the chart on Bitfinex, but the actual prices paid by users on BitMEX is slightly higher. So if you want to translate this chart, you'll have to be a bit creative. But this chart shows the same kind of movements as you will see on BitMEX. The reason why I use this chart and not the chart on BitMEX to show you what price is doing is because the December contracts only started trading a couple of weeks ago, which kind of rules out, takes away my historical data, which I really want to use to show you what's going on in this chart. So basically what will happen if you look at it on BitMEX, this entire part of the chart won't be visible. So it's a pain in the ass to chart with the BitMEX chart. So
absolutely. And is the volume on Bitfinex higher than BitMEX currently too?
I haven't checked. I mean, there was a shitload of volume on both Bitfinex and both. But the fact that these are December contracts are also, people don't necessarily want to jump in too early on those contracts. So there's a lot of parameters to take into account when trading these December contracts at this very moment.
Bitfinex is about 12.8 million of volume.
Yeah, it looks like a little higher in BitMEX at this point. I definitely understand your reasoning there, Ronnie, for using the Bitfinex chart to use this. And what I'm seeing there from the volume is we can see we had that massive volume spike, and that came in direct correlation to the IPO news from Bitmain that they'll be trying to raise a large amount of capital, which is obviously good because the proponents of Bitcoin Cash are also the owners and founders of Bitmain. So there's some high correlation there between the success of their IPO and I think the success of Bitcoin Cash. So I think a long here makes sense. Even if you're looking at the volume on smaller time frames, you can see that the sellers took control. It was like September 27th or something, but that volume has been declining ever since then. And as we reached the bottom part of that orange box, you have highlighted buyers stepped in the past couple of days. So I like a long here. Me and you have been working on this trade for a couple weeks, and I think it will finally turn itself into a profitable.
Do you guys like Bitcoin Cash just spot? I mean, a lot of the guys and girls listening to us right now, they're not interested in using BitMEX or Bitfinex to put leverage on alts. Leverage trading alts is not something that we love to do as a team. As obviously we've talked about with the rest of our analysts and with everyone else within the Bitcoin Bravado core team. Leverage trading alts starts to get a little bit sticky. The volatility can be insane. The stop runs are disgusting. It starts to get kind of tough. So as just investors in the crypto space, you have a bunch of money sitting on the sidelines right now. You feel like the bottom is in because Soulja Boy is making raps about Bitcoin and it's time to start buying some bags. Is Bitcoin, or otherwise known as shitcoin cash, or Bcash or Bcash, is that going to be something that you want some exposure to? And for me, the simple answer is unfortunately, yes. It's kind of like XRP for me. It's something that I will have exposure to. And within Bravado Capital, which is our fund that we manage as well, we have some exposure to. What are your guys' thoughts on exposure as just investors? If you're just looking to buy spot right now,
you have to.
I mean, I think you absolutely want to have exposure to Bitcoin Cash in your portfolio. If you're trying to index yourself or hold various cryptos to create a spread out approach to investing in cryptocurrency, then Bitcoin Cash should be a part of your portfolio. There's way too many powerful people in the space that hold Bitcoin Cash and believe in its prospects as a cryptocurrency. So this is something that you're going to want to own, and to understand why this currency in particular has a strong future. And it's highly correlated to Bitmain, the largest mining conglomerate in the world. They're raising an IPO. It could be bigger than Facebook. And if they're raising billions and billions of dollars, don't think that marketing for the cryptocurrency they endorse won't increase and probably have a positive impact on the price.
Yeah. No doubt. And from a tech perspective too, which I'm not a tech expert by any means, but I'm pretty well read over the last 3 years or so. One of our blockchain analysts for Bitcoin Bravado, shout out to Joe Kunzler, he's a Bitcoin Cash fanatic. I mean, he'll sit here and tell you all day about how Bcash is actually, has a lot to be excited about from a tech perspective. So take that for what it is. This is not, I hope that people don't unsubscribe after hearing this. But the reality is I think our fund has about 6% exposure to BCH. It used to be a lot more. And we may very well increase it. If you think about all the new money that go to Bitcoin.com, those individuals, unfortunately, are not learning about Bitcoin. They're learning about Bitcoin Cash. And there's not anything that you can do about that. So if you can't beat them, join them. And it is a coin that I've made a ton of money on in the past, like an absolutely disgusting amount. So along with Ripple, it's just one of those coins that I got to have some exposure to.
Yeah, I have one more thing to add. Honestly, after digging through a lot of charts, which is what I do all the time, but Bitcoin Cash seriously at this very moment probably has one of the best risk reward ratios in the bigger market cap coins, because if this textbook inverse head and shoulder is going to break out the targets, they're decent. It's 27 is my conservative target, and my actual completion of the inverse head and shoulders is 36%. So, and that's from breakout. So we're not considering the actual price movement from here. If Bitcoin Cash reverses from where it's sitting right now, it's going to move up for the fourth time into resistance, and that resistance was made in April. It's unlikely to hold for a fourth time. So it looks great in my opinion, and I got a long in, and I'm gonna hold that long. I'm gonna move my stop loss along with it, and I think it will be great money.
I hate to see it, but I agree.
Agreed.
All right, let's move on. Then we'll leave a little bit of time for questions for those on the live stream to see if they have any. What's the last thing that we want to talk about here, guys?
Actually, I think that is wrapping it up. I mean,
That's
if you
wrapping
want
it up.
to open the floor up to questions, I think that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, I know that we were talking a little bit about Cash, which is a coin that we, again, have covered before. Maybe we'll save that for Wednesday's show. I think there's a little bit more work to be done on the analysis side there. So let us dig into Cash. But for those who want a little preemptor to Wednesday's show, that's QASH Cash, not Bitcoin Cash or what have you. So we're going to be looking more into that. CMT is cooling off a little bit, so I'm looking to refill the bags there like we talked about. What questions do you guys have? The meme fail coin. Yeah, Cash, like most coins in the last, over the course of this year, has gotten absolutely decimated. That's why you haven't seen on our Telegram, or if you're one of our 65,000 subscribers, you haven't seen us talk about altcoins since March. And then not again until basically the end or middle to the end of August. And there's a reason for that. And that's just because the trend is your friend and you try not to fight against it. With that being said, I think a lot of us are kind of under the impression that there's really great risk rewards across the board for altcoins right now. And so we're going to continue to load our bags and take some of that risk as traders. Are all the alts like Aeon, Walton Coin, waiting to see what Bitcoin is going to do, or are they going to run regardless? What do you guys think? Does Bitcoin need to continue to move sideways in order for alts to have a chance?
Not necessarily.
I think it really depends on what trading pairs you're looking at too. Are we talking about alts versus BTC, or are we talking about alts versus USD? I think if Bitcoin goes up, alts will have success in terms of USD. But if you're looking at things compared to BTC, then yes, you would need BTC to be stable or not increasing price, aggressively in order for alts against BTC to still have positive prices.
I don't necessarily agree. I mean, it's probably true what you're saying, but the fact that these alts have been wrecked so much, and we've seen historically it has happened a couple of times that BTC would continue to go down in USD value, and alts versus BTC would actually go up. So I agree with you on that, but it's not necessarily. It could go different.
Yeah. We won't spend forever on that question. We want to get to a couple others, but I tend to agree. Obviously, if Bitcoin's moving sideways, it does make it a little bit easier for some of these altcoins to move. But I come from a time where Bitcoin and altcoins were inversely correlated, and there's a time very much that I remember fondly where Bitcoin didn't necessarily destroy alts. If Bitcoin dumped, sometimes alts would pump. If Bitcoin pumped, sometimes they'd pump with it, sometimes they would dump. So I would like to see that again. And I think with some of these coins being down 95%, with Bitcoin being down 70%, whether Bitcoin moves up, down, or moves sideways, I think there could be an opportunity for some of these alts to continue to break out. We have a question from the Bravado Inner Circle, Bravado VIP. Are we more bullish on OG coins or coins that haven't had full market cycles yet? So my understanding of an OG coin are coins like Strat, OMG, Qtum, Neo, some of those, or Sia coin, or even go more OG and look at coins like Doge. But some of these favorites from 2017, early 2017, late 2016, those are coins that always had a huge presence on Bittrex and Poloniex. Let me tell you guys something about Bittrex and Poloniex before we wrap up here. They are about to get a lot of volume. Both of these companies have an absolute war chest of cash that they're going to spend to ensure that people come and start trading on these exchanges again. Circle, otherwise known as Goldman and Sachs, didn't buy Poloniex because they wanted to throw it away. So as great as Binance is, as great as some of these shitty altcoin exchanges have been, and Binance is great, but the rest are pretty terrible, Bittrex and Poloniex are going to make a comeback. And when they do, I would fully expect some of these OG favorites to have a run, like Strat and OMG and some of those old favorites. They are definitely, they are definitely going to war. And I am bullish as hell on coins like Wax that are traded on Bittrex with low volume that are just at the bottom. I mean, they're just at the bottom. And if the risk reward on Wax doesn't appeal to you right now, you're trading the wrong assets, in my opinion. What do you think?
I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, looking at the chart like Wax, looking at a lot of these coins right now, they are completely bottomed out. Your risk reward is great. There will be volume that goes back into Bittrex and Poloniex. And from an outside perspective, this is going to be my first full year that we're coming up on. And as I'm trading, I'm looking for all of it. What is cycled before, what's not yet cycled, what came in at the top of the ICO peak and dumped 80-90% and is now sitting on the floor. There's so many things to consider. And it's hard to call. I think that those that continue to push out updates and have new developments and have an active GitHub and have a good team that's out there leading the marketing charge, those are going to be the coins that make moves.
No doubt. Someone wants our thoughts on
I agree.
Someone wants our thoughts on Tomo Chain in 10 seconds or less. Tomo Chain is a coin that we have been talking a lot about. So right now, I haven't looked at the chart. Last I checked, it had a really nice run. So maybe we will write that one down for an analysis on Wednesday looking for a fresh trade setup on Tomo Chain. But fundamentally, Tomo is one of those coins that I think is going to do really well in 2019.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Whitney?
Yes, this has been Crypto Live. We're having a blast. Thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate your continued patronage. We will be back on Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time for those of you tuning into the live stream. And
mark your calendars.
There you go. Set that reminder.
On Twitter, at Bitcoin Birch. If you have some suggestions of guests that you want to see, then go ahead and reply to my tweet about this particular live stream and podcast with the names of those who you want to see. I've already spoken to a ton of people who have agreed to come on, so we will start having some special guests as we continue to get a little bit more comfortable. This is episode, and we're going to continue to bring these to you guys. We hope that you enjoy, and as always, we are looking forward to buying more shit coins. Let's get it, boys.
Boom. Have a happy Monday, everybody.
Boom, boom.
Boom, boom.
Yeah, guys.
Cheers.